What's up, everybody? CHM Carnivorous here. I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Now, if you follow the channel, you know that I'm an Nepenthes guy. I like to collect them. I've had a lot of them. They make up the majority of my collection. But if you remember from last video, I told you I'm going to start getting into Sundews and Utricularias for 2024. In today's video, I want to do an introduction. Now, here comes a caveat. I've had Sundews in my care for quite some time, but I have not at all given them the care they need. And so they are very, let's just say, not healthy. But I was thinking about waiting to make a video until they were healthy, but then I thought that's not true to this channel. What's true to this channel is I want to show you what the average everyday grower like myself will have to experience and go through. And I'm not knocking the other channels, right? Some of those that have the professional setups, everything looks so gorgeous, but I want this to be very real for you and show you what an everyday grower can do with $100 a month budget or less, and just kind of bring that to you. But what comes with that is also the wins and the losses. And so I want to show you what I'm doing to rehabilitate a lot of these Sundews that I started growing. I want to talk about what care they do need and what not to do using my own experience. And so I thought it would just be really cool to kind of take you on a journey with me and show you what these Sundews looked like at the beginning, which is not great, and how we can get them to look great, and sort of put my money where my mouth is and show you those videos, and we'll kind of see them grow together. So this is the first Sunday Sundew. And so every Sunday, we're gonna have a Sunday Sundew video, and we will talk about Sundews. But if you also in the Nepenthes, have no fear, I will continue to make those videos. But without further ado, let's turn the camera around. Let's look at this ragtag bunch of Sundews, and let's talk about what to do to care for them, what not to do, and what we can expect in the next few months. See you in a minute. All right, so this video is going to serve as an introductory guide to Sundews. But it's also going to be a video where I talk about how to care for Sundews and what not to do in my case. As you can see, I don't know if you remember from prior videos, a lot of these were in much better condition. So first things first is ambient humidity. Now, these plants don't mind humidity. They certainly can take it, but what they do mind is a whole lot of humidity. And so I had these plants in my Nepenthes tent with not much circulation on them, and what I found out very quickly is the flower stalks started to rot, and then the plants themselves started to rot. So that was mistake number one. You want to make sure that when you're growing these things that you give them ambient humidity no higher than 70%, and then that is in itself pretty high, but they certainly can take lighter than that, especially when you're talking about a capensis. Now, the second thing that I did was I did not give them a lot of light. And given the name Sundew, you can imagine they do like a lot of light. And the reason why they like a lot of light is you'll see here, they got these little dewdrops on the leaves. That is produced through photosynthesis, and that is what they use to catch their prey. That stuff is extremely sticky, and insects will get on there. And in the case of a capensis, it'll actually roll up. See, I've got one there. The bug itself, actually this is food, is not looking so great, but see how it's rolled up? That is because that's what it does. So it first ensnares them by sticking the insect. The insect goes on there because they think, oh, it's dew, this is going to be a great little drink of water, whatever I need, and they get stuck. And then over a period of probably a couple hours, the Sundew will start to curl around. Now, not all of them do that, but capensis is one that does, and so that is really cool. And spatulata here does that as well. So it's not as dynamic and dramatic as a Venus flytrap, but it is really cool to see nonetheless. So that brings me to my next point. Get a good light source. Now, I'm not going to show you because it will completely just hurt your eyes, but what I have over my head right now is a Mars Hydro. I got this one for $65. I think it's the 600 series off of Amazon, and it has done great. And the way you'll know that you have enough light is your plants will start to show you. It can take up to 2 to 3 weeks, but you'll start to notice that these Sundews will get that sticky substance. Again, that's through photosynthesis. If you're not seeing their Sundew as a sticky substance, that's a good indicator they are not getting enough light. Now, the next thing I didn't do is I didn't keep enough water. Sundews are completely opposite of Nepenthes. They want to sit in water. They want to constantly have a damp soil. Now, you don't want them sitting like in very, very deep water. I'd say maybe bottom quarter of the pot, maybe even a little lower, like in this case. In the case of capensis, they have extremely long roots, and so they don't mind having their roots wet. They don't want them sitting in a sort of an aquatic setting, so that is something to look out for. I let mine dry out, and when you let them dry out, they start doing things like this. So this is a giant form of capensis, and as you can see, these leaves are dying. Now this is part of the natural process of a capensis, or most sundews. They will brown their leaves as they grow, and in these cases, they grow almost like a palm tree sort of setting, but in the cases like a spatulata, here, if I can get it to focus, you can see they start to grow sort of this base of dead growth as they sort of move higher into the air. So that is a good indicator that they do not have enough water. The other thing you'll notice specifically with capensis is they'll start to get spindly. See how this one's sort of growing up? Now that's a couple different things, but that is a good indicator of not enough water, and then also not enough light as they sort of reach for whatever light they can get. Now, the next thing I didn't do was feed them. Sundews love to flower. So you can see here, this is spatulata here. They love to flower, and if you don't feed them, they will sort of flower themselves to death. So it is very important to feed them. Now mine went probably a year without feeding, if you can believe it. And what happens is the plant will slowly start to shrink, and eventually it will die off. I have started feeding them, and what you can feed them and they love, and I found is the easiest to do so, is fish flakes. And you can grind them up with your fingers and sort of put them on and sprinkle them on, and they simply love that. You can do larger food, but you got to be careful, because you'll see here I did a larger food, and all those white dots, that's unfortunately mold. Now that won't hurt the plant, but it will kill those leaves, and they won't get as much nutrients from it. So keep that in mind. Fish flakes I have found to be the best source. You can also use a maxi fertilizer, heavily diluted, and then you can use a syringe to put them on the leaves. Now that is a little bit more painstaking, but if you enjoy sort of the experience of feeding them, then have at it. I'm going to pause the video real quick and be right back. So this is a much smaller grow tent, so it's going to be a little hard for me to share with you these videos when I have it turned around like that. But I wanted to pause the video just a moment to tell you a couple things. And one is, these plants are incredibly easy to care for, and even in the situations like this where I've had them for over a year and have not given them any care, they've still survived. And so what I want you to take from this video is what you can do to make sure that they do survive. Now we've talked through that they need plenty of light. Make sure they get plenty of light. Make sure that they get plenty of water. You want to make sure they're sitting in water a quarter to the pot or a little lower to make sure their roots stay wet. Feeding schedule, once every week. You can do as much as that, or you can do once every 2 weeks, but make sure that you give them good feed, because that is going to help them grow. Now the last thing I want to talk about is airflow. They don't need airflow as much as an nepenthes does, but they do require airflow, because that helps prevent things like detritus. With these plants sitting in water, their mold is going to love that. The two things to combat that is going to be a bright light and airflow. You don't want a ton of airflow, because these plants produce very dust-like seeds that will blow all over the place, but it is important to give them airflow. And so I have just a regular old house fan that I got from Walmart for $17, and it does a trick. I don't have it sitting directly on the plants. I have it sitting sort of in an ambient way, so it sort of cycles air through, and that does fantastic. Now I'm going to end this video, but before I do, I want to show you one cool thing about these plants. So I'm going to turn the camera around and share that with you. All right, so one thing that I wanted to share with you is these plants, and I'll be showing you in future videos. I've already got cuttings going. These plants are incredibly easy to propagate. You can do it through stem cuttings, which I have done already. I'm letting those grow out, and I'm going to show you how to do a stem cutting, and then I want to show you the results. So I got that started ahead of time. But also, they self-seed. The majority of them will self-seed. That is why they're considered a weed a lot of times in the carnivorous plant community. So I will say, a word of warning, make sure you keep them away from any plants that you don't want them in, because plants like capensis and spatulata will certainly spread their seeds. As you can see, the spatulata, I cut all these flower stalks off about a week and a half ago, and you can see that they're all back. Now each seed pod will produce about 1,000 to 3,000 seeds, and about an 80% germination rate if you do it right. And I'll be showing you how to do that. But they get these very long flowers, and they do that through evolution to keep their pollinators, which is interesting because they're self-pollinating, but they're pollinators from getting ensnared in their dew. This is capensis flower. It will get larger, and this one produces purple flowers. There are other forms that produce white flowers like alba. And so what you'll end up getting is just pots and pots and pots full of just hundreds of sundew. Now here are my pygmies, and they are being overtaken by the capensis. And so that is something that you definitely want to look out for. But if you're looking to just grow this collection, capensis and spatulata are two very, very good ones to grow. There are certainly way more sundews, and we will explore that together as we go about these Sunday sundews. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. The biggest takeaway here is what not to do and what you can do. And if you have a sundew that is on its way out, have no fear. You can bring it back and have it be very healthy. Believe it or not, these things look exceptionally worse than this not even a week ago, and they're starting to flower again, and they're getting their dew back, and in no time flat, they will be healthy and big. All right, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe if you don't mind. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. And always have a great day and a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.